The crew cheered as the ship dropped out of lightspeed. They had done it. They had broken the lightspeed barrier and the results had been better than expected, far better. Yes, wait, what? Am I seeing that right? Captain James Smith looked out the port window at Alpha Centauri. There was a structure hanging there. It looked like a sphere with a giant ring going around its center and another going around from the north to the south. It was almost the size of Earth's moon. The crew of 5 just stared at the structure. I don't know. Kurt Wagner replied, dumbfounded. He tore himself away from the window and sat down at the scanners. The main sphere is 1,000 kilometers in radius. Those rings are 100 kilometers high and 20 kilometers wide. I also read energy from all of it and movement. It's like a beehive. Objects are going in and out at a rapid pace. Kurt Reaction got the rest to sit down at their post as well. Ivan Nowak went over the diagnostic. The ship is in peak condition, no damage after the flight, and we have 75% fuel left. Somebody made a mistake when they calculated how much we needed. Juan Ferreira was going over the controls as he was thinking out loud. Or not, look, we have now enough fuel to investigate this and return. It also explains why they made the controls and docking system this way. We all thought it was strange, right? Why does this ship need to be flown with the ease of a standard plane? Why was the docking system changed so it could dock with literally anything? As well as the new airlock system. Why did it need a bioscan system? They all looked at him and back at the structure. Yeah, I thought that design was weird. Why did Musk get so personally involved in design? I know he paid for most of it, but come on. James looked at him, then back at the structure outside. God damn it, he is an alien. Kurt blurted it out as the last member of the crew, Eric Solvag, turned on the loudspeaker and leaned back with a "I give up" expression on his face. I repeat, to SS Enterprise Alpha, this is Janrit Space Control. You're cleared to land on pad Alpha 001. Please engage your slave drive. Do you read? The voice was a pleasant female one, speaking in perfect English. On one screen, the words came up in several different languages. What the hell? They speak English. James looked at Eric, who just shrugged before answering. Apparently, and they have given us landing clearance. Should we replay? Yes. And tell them we don't have a slave drive. Eric took a deep breath and pressed the button to reply. Hello? This is SS Enterprise Alpha, we hear you. I'm afraid we cannot turn on a slave drive since we don't know what it is and we don't have it. On the speaker, they could hear somebody speaking to each other in a mix of frustration and confusion. It was almost as if they understood what the conversation was about. A different voice came on. It was a male one who spoke with confidence. Are you sure? You might have a different name for it. Should be something about docking. You have any systems for docking? He told us he installed it. Eric looked at them and mouthed, he told them? What the hell? Then he replied, we are checking now. By the way, if you don't mind, who is he? There was a short pause before the control answered. I'm sorry, I'm not authorized to tell you. Please check, and when you dock it will all be explained. Kurt and Juan started to check the system as James sat down and entered the program logs. Checking the file names, he quickly found slave docking, thought it was renamed RD, remote docking, and the moment he activated it, the control replied. Thank you, we are docking you now. What the hell? This is insane. He must have known. God damn it. Juan just leaned back, then turned to the screen as a new message came up on the large display screen. Please change to the new uniforms in Locker 007. Do not be afraid. There is nothing to fear. They all looked at each other, then moved to the back of the ship. Locker 007 was for the spare space suites, but as they opened it, a hangar glided out showing 5 neatly pressed uniforms, with 1 rank added to their original rank. Looks like we all got promoted. James smirked as he got his white Navy uniform. I did wonder why they was so adamant that we all had military background. They all got dressed and walked back to the cockpit and just looked at the giant base coming closer and closer. And now we know why the cockpit looks more like a bridge. They must have known. Why didn't they tell us? Kurt looked around the bridge as he adjusts his uniform. Who said they knew? My guess it's all him. Him and his team. You really think they would have sent us if they knew? They would have sent some politicians so they could score some points. James replied as he checked the screens, making sure everything was recorded. Check the environmental sensors outside. Now we know why we have them as well. There was a chuckle as they sat down and all went over their instruments, checking with a new curiosity what these extra systems could be used for. The ship glided into the hangar and the external reading detected oxygen and nitrogen at breathable levels. No hostile viruses or pathogens detected. The ships touched down effortless, and it was not surprising anymore that it seemed to fit perfectly. They could see what looked like humanoid droids waiting outside for them. Okay, showtime. Let's find out what this is all about. They walked to the airlock, went inside, and went to the procedure before leaving. When they got out, they could see several other aliens there. In front of them stood a humanoid with red skin and blue patched around his eyes. His hair was bright red and his from his front of his body was deeply blue. He had slightly long pointed ears and was dressed in a dark green long-tailed suit with golden buttons. He smiled brightly but did not show any teeth. Behind him were aliens of different sizes and shapes, but they all seemed familiar. The man spoke up as they all had left the ship. On behalf of the Federation of United System, I, Tinudu of the Nalos Kingdom, wish to welcome you to our Federation. James looked at the others, then back to this Tinudu and bowed lightly, just because it seemed right. Thank you for your invitation, and on behalf of humanity I would like to humbly accept this invitation. May this be the start of a beautiful and prosperous friendship. When he finished speaking, the aliens all returned the bow and music started. The crew looked at each other in utter disbelief.
Etwas Mozarts, eine kleine Nachtmusik.
Is that Mozart? Kurt could not help but ask, and Tinu nodded. Yes, we thought it to be appropriated to play something you're familiar with. I personally would have gone with Imogen by the Beatles, but since it's English and you're not English, we decided on a wordless melody you would all recognize. Why do you speak English? I mean, how do? Oh, you have been studying us for a long time, right? That is correct. I have studied Arath for over 500 years and speak several of your languages. We also have your languages in our neurotranslators. He stopped and an android approached with what appeared to be a box and opened it. Inside were five set of earbuds and a small metal strip. Please put these one. It's an external version of our own neurotranslator implants. With these you will be able to speak with everybody on this station. They looked at each other and one by one put it on. It didn't feel like anything happened, but they suddenly seemed to understand the murmurs from the other delegates behind Tinu. The written signs were still as unreadable as before. Wow, they would love these back on Earth, would solve so many problems. How do they work? Eric was eagerly trying to listen to what the other alien was saying. Tinu smiled and waved his hand, and a tall-looking alien with shoulder wings and a set of talon-like fingers. He looked like an angel as he was dressed in a white robe with silver times. His face was almost human except for a beak for a nose and, strangely enough, a almost human-like mouth. This is Professor Garthett of the Werder University. His species is called Genator, and in think he can explain it in simpler but understandable terms. They turned to look at him as he began. His voice was a strange, raspy, melodious voice, like a whiskey voice. Hello, there is an extreme pleasure to meet humans. We have heard so much about you. I really loved your Mafia Wars movie. And Tinu interrupted him as they kept rambling on. Please, they are not aware of that part of our research yet. Please just explain how the translators works. The crew looked confused at each other. Mafia Wars? The phone app? The professor looked at Tinu and then shook his head before starting again. So sorry. I got a little excited there. So how does the translators work? Well, in simple terms, it read what you intend to say, not what you are saying, and send that information to the receiver. So as long as there is a brain wave, it can interpret it. So that's why we can't read the signs? I guess it does not work on the android as well? Eric was glancing around the docking area and then at the droid. That is correct. The androids must have the language package installed, and the written part we normally use visors or standard galactic signs. Tinu interrupted them again. Please follow me, we have much to show you and discuss. And do not worry. Everything here will be filmed, and you will be given a copy along with some gifts. They walked down a well-lit hallway and through a few gates. There were clearly some sort of security around, the kind you would see on an airport, but Tinu and the delegates escorted them straight through to what seemed to be a large city with lots of green areas and large transparent surfaces. The crew looked around in amazement as they saw aliens of all shapes and forms move around. I know this must be somewhat of a shock to see all of this, but we thought this would be the best way to get the shock out of the way. As he spoke, a hover convertible limousine-like vehicle arrived, and they were escorted inside to sit down, and then the vehicle took off. James turned to the others. Nobody will believe us if we don't bring back evidence. Wait, is that? He pointed at an image on the screen, and Tinu chuckled. Yes, that is the Wasu performance of King Lear. They are quite fond of his work. But that looks like a Kling. I do know they look something from your TV entertainment. In fact, several of the aliens you will see are actual species in the Federation. As you will find out, an grayish alien with large black eyes, bald head and a child's body, eagerly interrupted Kurt before himself being silenced by Tinu. Please excuse my college. They are just too eager to share with you everything we have done here. I think we should just let you take in the sights as we take you to my home where we can discuss it properly. As for what he said, yes, we have of course been on Earth, and Earth Entertainment seemed to have a quite good luck when guessing how alien life looks like. Wow, I know some back home who would love to watch a what was the name? Wasu? Shakespeare. Wait. If we guessed correctly about the aliens, those that mean xenomorphs are also around. Eric looked at the aliens who all seemed to shudder. He looked at the crew who suddenly got a little nervous. What had they gotten themselves into? Well, you didn't get everything correct. Then one you call xenomorphs are a quite peaceful species who are vegetarians. And my species has yet to show up. It's kind of an insult. I mean, you even got then Garians, you call them Ewoks. Most of the galaxy haven't seen one or know they exist, but you guys somehow knew. Worst species in the galaxy. They will eat anybody and you turn them into cute teddy bears. I must say most people was surprised you even knew they hide their sharp fangs behind the flat ones. That is even more rare for anybody to know. The crew looked at each other. Lucas is an alien? Him? Oh no. Thought there was some aliens who worked for him, but only in administration. We stay away from everything creative when it comes to Earth. The transport stopped outside what appeared to be a white marble palace of old Greek style. On the lawn were several statues of famous humans throughout history. This way, please, you notice my collection. Yes, they are real life-size statues of the actual person. We have observed Earth from around year 367 after death your standard time. Though we found trance of an even older alien race that must have observed you for even longer. The crew walked past the statues amazed at what they saw and entered the palace that looked more like a museum than a home. So have you collected us? Is that what's happening here? James spoke up, voicing the worries they all were starting to have. Tinu turned to them, first the surprised, then a little worried with a feeling of shame. Kidnap you? Oh now. We are going to introduce the galaxy to you, shover your witty gifts and send you home, hoping you will join the galaxy and even the Federation. Well, let's get started then. It's just a little strange to see all of this. It feels a little. James was struggling with the words to Eric helped him. Stalkery. No. Actually, yes. You have everything here? It feels like you're a stalker and Earth is your object of desire. James looked at Eric, then returned his attention to Timu, who nodded. That is a correct assumption. Please come and sit down. You will understand everything, and I think you will perhaps laugh a little at our stupidity. We are mostly harmless for you. They entered a large room with a large half-circle couch around a large white and sliver table in the middle. One side was a giant window, while the other were made of the same white marble as the rest of the house. The table was filled with food and objects that seemed to be taken out of a sci-fi movie. Please, sit down, eat, drink, and be merry. They sat down even more confused as Timu paced a little as the other aliens joined them. Sitting down. James looked at the woman sitting straight opposite him, trying hard to not bluster. He could swear she was a Twi'lek, and next to her sat a green-skinned Orion woman. Hen looked at his crew, who was just taking in the sight. The most beautiful aliens they had ever seen of both male and female variants was joining them. James looked up at Tinu, who seemed to finally gather his wits. I will start with the obvious one. Yes, we have observed you like a lovesick puppy since we found you. We have also borrowed most of your art and entertainment and used it to, well, entertain the whole galaxy. You see, Every species must have a few gifts that sets them apart from the rest of their planet's fauna. For most of us, it's a sense of teamwork, a herd or pack mentality that leads us to forever try to expand, mostly in a peaceful manner. When we start to near the capability of our home worlds, we look outwards and try to settle our solar system, then out of necessity we will expand beyond. And due to the waste of space, there are enough space for perhaps 1 million more species having a 1,000-system large empire without any need for war or conflict. Now some are of course violent, and that is why we have the Federation. To defend ourselves against the few who are violent, that is. Now the second part that is extremely common is the unification of the home world before you reach spacefaring age. You see, most planets go through the violent birth, as we call it. It normally happens between the invention of gunpowder and nuclear energy. During this age, one nation takes over and eradicates any resistance. It's after this violent birth, which unify and standardize the empire, that true peace and harmony happens. As with my people, we all follow the same culture and language. Earth, as you know, is nothing like that. They sat silent as they listened. It was both fascinating and scary. How could this be viewed as a peaceful galaxy with such a violent history? Tinu continued. Earth is different. You're a herd and pack species. With is strange but not unheard of. You are definitely not monocultural but insanely multicultural, and you view this as a good thing. The invention of the gunpowder just made you first violent, then more peaceful. By that I mean more peaceful than us. Then you invented the nuclear bomb, used it but only subjugated one country for a short time, then released it from its hold. Your space exploration was a result of a competition between two nations at a time when most of Earth's resources were still unused. So, understand when I say that Earth is a mystery for our political science researchers, some who are here tonight. They will probably try to use any trick in the book to learn the secret of your political system. But that's not the only reason for our fascination with the Earth. Your creativity is just off the scale. Of all the known species in the universe, your species ranks highest in entertainment creativity, so high that many species have sent spies to learn from you. Unfortunately, that has led to a decline in your creativity in the mass media. Wait? So, they bad movies and shitty music are your fault? Juan sat up shocked. Yeah, or what do you mean about decline in creativity? Do you mean the endless remakes and factory-made pop music? Kurt was clearly not liking what he was hearing. So that's why we are here? To save your company? You are going to reveal everything just so you can get rid of your competition. Tinu shrugged a little. Yes, something like that. I have a huge debt to Earth. Not only of gratitude but also credits. 10% of everything I sell has been put aside to give back to the owner of everything we have borrowed. There are a few who will be pleasantly surprised. There are bands who might have a couple of thousand of. That reminds me, you have a son named Gunnar, right? Timu looked Kurt, who confused nodded. Yes, what about him? Well, he is lead singer of a rock band called Gruner Panda, right? Well, I know they sold about 20,000 albums on Spotify. Of course, in the Galaxy version of Spotify, My Earth Tunes, they have sold over 5 trillion. There is a check coming his way. What? You mean he? Wait, you have saved the percentage of the sales? For everything? What about Shakespeare? Yes, of course, I'm not a thief. A cunning businessman, surely, but I don't steal. So let's eat and let me entertain you all. You are my guest, and in 1 week's time we will load up your ship and send you all home. And after a month this space station will move to Sol System, so we can establish a proper business connection.